You know, this is incredible mystery unfolding inside every single one of us. It's a story about how we age, about our immune system, and about a group of cells that might not be what we've always thought they were.
So here's the central puzzle, the core of the mystery. As we get older, some of our absolute best immune cells, our T-cells, start to do something really strange. For the longest time, the thinking was, well, they're just getting old and worn out. But what if they're not just wearing out? What if they're actually being reprogrammed for a totally new mission? And the big question is that new mission for our benefit or to our detriment? That's what we're going to unpack today.
I mean, we all kind of know this, right? As we get older, it just feels like our immune defenses aren't what they used to be. The COVID-19 pandemic made this crystal clear, showing just how vulnerable older people can be. But this isn't just a feeling, it's a real documented biological process.
And that process has a name: immunosenescence. It's basically the slow, gradual decline of our immune function as we age. For decades, scientists have been playing detective, trying to pinpoint the main culprit behind this weakening shield.
And that investigation leads us right here to our prime suspect, the senescent T-cell. These are the veterans of our immune system, battle-hardened and incredibly numerous. For the longest time, the story was that these guys were just done, worn out, dysfunctional, basically retired soldiers who were now a liability. But what if that whole story was just plain wrong?
Because it turns out, these old cells aren't just fading into the sunset. The latest evidence shows they're making a massive career pivot.
So, here's the big twist in our story. Instead of just becoming useless, these senescent T-cells are being completely refocused. They're not losing their job, they're getting a brand new one, trading in their specialized skill set for something much, much broader.
Okay, so let's break down what that change actually looks like. Your standard T-cell, it's a specialist. It's trained to recognize and attack one specific enemy, and it only gets activated by that one specific trigger. But this new reprogrammed cell, it's a generalist. It doesn't wait for a specific signal. Instead, it gets triggered by these broad chemical alarms called cytokines. It's less like a highly trained soldier and more like a general security guard who reacts to any loud noise.
The best way to think about it is like this. Imagine a highly trained sniper being retrained as a frontline brawler. Still incredibly powerful, right? But their whole mission, their rules of engagement have completely changed. They start acting like a totally different kind of immune cell, the natural killer cell, or NK cell, which is famous for its shoot first, ask questions later approach.
Okay, so if they're not just wearing out from old age, what is it that's causing this radical transformation? Well, the original theory pointed to a lifetime of fighting the same old battles.
Yeah, for ages, the prevailing wisdom was that these cells only changed after fighting the same stubborn virus over and over and over again. But that doesn't really seem to be the whole story. The evidence is now pointing to something way more surprising and honestly, a little more chaotic.
And that something is a process called bystander activation. Okay, picture this. Your body's fighting off an infection. Let's say it's the flu. To rally the troops, it unleashes this huge storm of chemical alarm signals called cytokines. But here's the thing, those alarms don't just alert the cells fighting the flu. Nope, they blast every T-cell in the area, even the ones that have absolutely nothing to do with the current fight. They're literally innocent bystanders getting caught in the crossfire.
So here's how it plays out, step by step. First, you get an infection. That triggers this massive cytokine storm. These powerful signals like IFN1 and IL-15 just wash over all the T-cells nearby. And it's this intense, non-specific blast that actually pushes these bystander T-cells over the edge, reprogramming them into that senescent NK-like state. It's not about one specific enemy. It's about being caught in the fog of war itself.
And listen, this isn't just some wild idea. The research is solid on this. A key paper on the subject found that, and I'm quoting here, a large proportion of senescent T-cells may accumulate because of bystander activation. This is a massive, massive shift in how we understand the aging immune system.
All right, so now we know we've got these powerful reprogrammed generalist cells building up as we get older. Which brings us to the big final question. Are they the good guys or the bad guys? Is this a good thing or a really, really bad thing?
And the answer, which is kind of frustrating, is, well, it's both. On the one hand, these NK-like T-cells can be incredible. They can hunt down and kill cancer cells, clear out other old damaged cells, and provide this broad, general protection. But that same lack of specificity is their biggest flaw. It means they can cause a ton of collateral damage, attacking perfectly healthy tissue and fueling that chronic inflammation we see so often with aging.
And this isn't just theoretical. We see the fingerprints of the cellular dark side all over a whole host of awful diseases. We're talking about rheumatoid arthritis, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, the list goes on. In all these cases, it looks like their super-inflammatory nature is a huge part of the problem.
And let's bring this right back to COVID-19 for a second. In those really severe cases, especially in older folks, the body is just flooded with inflammation. The thinking now is that this chaotic environment sends these bystander-activated T-cells into a frenzy, causing them to attack healthy lung tissue. This friendly fire could be a major reason for the absolutely devastating damage we saw.
So, where does that leave us? We've cracked a huge part of the case. We have this powerful new picture of how our immune system changes with age. But this big revelation leaves us with one last crucial mystery to solve.
The big takeaway here is that our immune system isn't just breaking down. It's actually adapting. It's creating this potent reprogrammed T-cell force as a kind of backup security system, giving us this broad layer of protection as we age.
But, and this is a huge but, that adaptation comes with a terrifying risk. Because when the conditions are wrong, when inflammation is running rampant, these very same guardians can become indiscriminate destroyers. They turn on the very body they're supposed to be protecting.
And that leads us to the fundamental, unanswered question. What is the trigger? What's the specific signal that flips that switch and turns these potentially life-saving cells into a destructive force? Because figuring that out, well, that could be the key to tackling a whole range of age-related diseases. It could be the secret to making sure our veteran immune cells truly fight for us and not against us, for our entire lives.